Here at Burdeen's Jewelry, we are an authorized dealer for over 20 brands. And today I have the good fortune of being joined by the boutique director of Panerai and IWC, two of our most popular selling brands here at Burdeen's. Rich, thank you so much for joining me.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I guess let's start off with a little bit about your role here at Burdeen's, being the boutique director of both Panerai and IWC.
Yeah. So I've been with the company just under 6 years now. We used to be located at the Waldorf, and we had three brands. We had IWC, Lange, and Panerai. I was the director from our inception in Chicago for the whole 5 years. At Christmas time, we closed the boutique at the Waldorf and moved to a new flagship location. So we now have IWC and Panerai boutiques as flagship boutiques here in Chicago. They're both 2 floors. We no longer operate the Lange boutique, and we still kept the Waldorf Astoria. We have 3 new boutiques there: Piaget, JLC, and Roger Dubuis.
Yeah, no, it's been a pretty wild transition, even just seeing like the 120 East Oak Street store and how it's kind of evolved, even from the time I started in January. It's absolutely insane. But I guess kind of going into where you are in watches, right? What is it about, I guess, watches or watch collecting that got you interested in the hobby?
So it's kind of funny. I actually got into watches through my mom, not my dad. Growing up, my mom always wore watches, and for Mother's Day, Christmas, me and my brother would go with my dad to kind of pick out a watch from my mom. My dad is an old school laborer, never wore jewelry, never wore watches. So my mom was the one who had watches always. And I always liked watches. I remember being a ring boy when I was 5 for one of my aunt's weddings and getting a Smurf watch. And I remember wearing that as a little kid. And then, as I got a little bit older in high school and in college, like most people, I got in fashion watches, diesel watches,
sure,
Armani,
Citizen,
Emporia, the fun stuff that kind of is that gateway drug into watches. And then when I graduated college, my aunt got me a Movado, and I'm old enough where that was the thing.
A serious
you had
watch,
to have a Movado to really be serious, and I loved it. And then as my career progressed, my first job in the luxury realm was with Tiffany's. And I ran our customer service department at the Tiffany's on Michigan Avenue, and we would take in a ton of the Patek Tiffany watches.
Sure.
And that's really where my passion just exploded. Having access and seeing all the dual branded Tiffany watches, whether it was a vintage Chopard, a Rolex, Baume & Mercier, Patek, or Tiffany, that's really where my passion and love for watches just exploded. Yeah, it's kind of just been upward since then.
And it makes sense, right? Obviously, Patek being kind of the height or the pinnacle of watchmaking for many people. And
yeah,
obviously there's a lot of great brands out there, but to be introduced, I guess, to that level of watchmaking so early into your career, it's pretty natural to get into the high end side of things, right? I guess my question is nowadays, right? I'm sure your perspective has changed a lot in terms of what you look for in a watch, right?
Yeah.
What would you say are the key elements that make you kind of gravitate towards one watch versus another?
Sure. As I get older and older, my style keeps evolving and changing. When I first got into it, I was really big on high complications, perpetual calendars, annual calendars. And as I personally grow, I find beauty in the simplicity. I love manual winding watches. I think the first reaction to a watch has to be the dial.
Sure.
Because we're in the industry, the movement is,
important.
The heartbeat of the watch.
Sure.
But when you look down at your wrist, you have to have that
instant connection.
100%.
Instant, yeah.
I couldn't agree more. I think the dial is what you fall in love with first. And then what's inside, no different than a person, that only makes it better and better. But my initial always, oh my God, I have to have this. It's because of the dial.
Sure. And we have a couple pretty special watches with pretty special dials as well.
Thank you. Yeah. So I brought in kind of the watches that are my current rotation. So I have 2 that are very special and unique that have a very sentimental meaning behind them that I will get into. And then I have my tough Panerai. And these are the 3 watches that are honestly in my daily rotation that I kind of live with. I have a Lange Sohne Saxonia thin copper blue, 39 millimeter, which I love. Now the thins are typically 37 millimeters. This piece is special and jumps up to 39 millimeters, which I think is a fantastic size. For me, for my size and stature, I think 38 to 41 is bulletproof. Now, I'm going to talk about a 44 millimeter Panerai, so
But that's different. They're meant to be oversized.
100%.
That's
so
the vibe of that.
Absolutely. So but for me, that 38 to 41, flawless. So I have the Saxonia thin copper blue, and then I have a Lange 1, which is 38.5 millimeter. These are both manual winds, going back to what I said. It's actually funny, even the Panerai is a manual wind. I like manual wind watches. I think that when you first get into watches, for whatever reason, I have to have an automatic. Like, oh my God, it's an automatic. This is incredible. And as your journey gets deeper and deeper and you understand watches more and more, I don't know. I just feel like there's this gravitational pull to manual winds.
It's the romanticism of, engaging with the watch every single, and you know what? I'm the same as you. I've sold off, I have one automatic watch left in my collection. The rest is all manual winding.
Yeah, so it's funny. I only have one as well.
Yep.
And I'm big on what the watch represents, the meaning behind it. The biggest complaint that people have about a manual wind watch is having to set it. I pick it up, the time's not right, the date's not right. That's my favorite part of a watch.
Right.
I love winding.
That's the whole point.
I know how the watch feels. I would know if something was wrong. I mean, you get it, but I mean, that's like a nerd to another level.
Sure.
And I think, it kind of makes sense that as you get into luxury watches, the automatic is the selling point. And then as you get deeper into that journey, into higher complications, more important brands, you're almost kind of forced into a manual winding watch.
Sure.
To an extent, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, these are the watches that I've really kind of fell in love with and wear. The Panerai that I've been wearing a lot, more than I ever even thought I would. I mean, with suits, dressed up to formal occasions, is the PAM 634. Now, this is an older piece, but I love it. It's the 15th anniversary Panerai watch. It had a small production. It's evocative of the PAM 2, which is my favorite Panerai ever. 12-3-6-9, no small seconds, no date. It has a faux patina on the lume that kind of is very indicative of a tritium dial, which I love.
It's vintage evocative, essentially, right?
100%.
And does it have a base logo?
Base logo, in blue.
Yeah.
I just think that this is truly what Panerai is. And I mean, I have two PAMs that, I'm going to talk about. I have two IWCs that I want to talk about. But for me, I love the history, the Italian Navy. I love the background of Panerai and what it represents. Those old school Stallone daylight watches.
Absolutely.
I just think that Panerai is a brand that you just have a picture in your head. And for newer people, it might be Carbotech.
Sure.
For me, it's a base logo, manual wind, a watch you can beat and wear and be rugged, and really kind of make your own. I just think that what this watch represents at its purest form is fantastic.
And it's incredible to think about what Panerai has achieved, because they've only been selling watches since 1993 to the general public, at least, right?
Correct. And that's pre-Vendome. That's not even,
right. That's only 30 years, right?
Correct.
So far. So the success that they've achieved, and even just the variety, right? Like you have a couple of Panerai watches that couldn't be more different from one another, right?
Correct.
One being a pure kind of more tool watch, what Panerai is known for, and one that's more so on the more elegant side of things.
Absolutely. And I mean, I tend to show you the Langes that I have. So this is the Saxonia thin copper blue. What's awesome about this is most people think it's an aventurine dial. It's actually a man-made goldstone. So it's a glass, extremely hard to produce. Because we were an official boutique, we were able to get the watch. Production's very small. There's about 47 Lange doors worldwide, and your average boutique got 2 pieces. So you're talking about 100, not even 100 pieces produced a year. The second is the one. It's the one that you think of when you think of Lange. Super clean,
The most
classic.
pure design.
Absolutely.
That perfect,
Yeah.
equilateral triangle, like that asymmetry, that's just absolute perfection. It's just, it's awesome.
You can't go wrong. And what I really love about the Lange 1 is all the stories behind it.
Sure.
When Gunter Blumlein and Walter Lange reestablished the brand, Gunter Blumlein at that time was running JLC and IWC.
IWC.
And there's a lot of, I don't believe the story's ever been verified, but what I hear is that Kurt Klaus and Gunter Blumlein designed the Lange 1
Really?
in drawing by hand. There's just so much.
I heard Jesse Gunter Blumlein. I'd never heard Kurt Klaus.
Yeah, he was part of
Yeah, that's interesting.
They actually utilized Jaeger-LeCoultre and IWC to help bring the brand back.
Yeah, that I do know. They also got help, even for example, from there was a small movement manufacturer called Renault and Papi at the time, and now you hear like the Gronfeld brothers, and they talk about making the Pour le Mérite tourbillon, which was one of the first
unbelievable
watch, right?
Yeah.
So, but Gunter Blumlein is one of those long lost and forgotten heroes in the watchmaking industry. People don't even know the whole Kurt Kloss perpetual calendar system was like his idea. He wanted to really
100%.
create something completely new to market, and Kurt Kloss was able to create something totally new and groundbreaking for the time.
It's funny, I mean, me and my team talk about this all the time. It's almost a sin that Gunter Blumlein's not a household name.
Absolutely.
Anyone who is a novice, is a purist, they should know his name. What he did for our industry was
unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, we lost him at a young age, and I think it would have been unbelievable what he was able to achieve, but what he did for our industry and propelling us to where we are now, I don't know that anyone else could have did that.
No, I don't think so. And I don't think anybody will ever live up to that kind of level anymore.
No. And I mean, he ran those 3 brands simultaneously. And
sure.
Yeah.
It was like the best times for all those. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. What was coming out of those companies at that time? Early 90s.
It's the most collectible of those 3 brands.
Yeah.
I would say.
Oh, and I always want to, I do want to say this, because I think you really can't understand how disruptive this watch was to the watch market when it came out. And we look at it now, and you can't even think of the watch world without a Lange 1. Mm-hmm. But this asymmetrical, nothing intersecting, where do my eyes go? Nothing was ever made like this.
Yeah.
At this price point, I mean, it won every design award, you can get. But I think that, with how wild and insane watchmaking has become, you lose sight that, just 30 years ago, and this was groundbreaking.
Lange was a huge disruptor. I mean, you have to put into consideration the datograph. The original datograph was released in 1999, and it was the first in-house manual winding chronograph movement in over 50 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
The Patek, the year previous, released the 5070, which had the Lemania bush that pretty much everybody was using at the time.
Yeah.
And, the datograph came out and blew everybody out of the water.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, they're super disruptive. And, in fairness, also, another very, very disruptive company is Panerai themselves, right?
100%.
Especially with the Panerai group, right?
Yeah.
I guess that's more disruptive in terms of the collector community, right?
Yeah.
And the brand itself, but that was also big for the company.
Yeah, and I mean, you think about going back to what we just said, this was released in 1994 at 38.5. So when you're talking 1993, a 44 millimeter watch, I mean, at that point in time, guys were still wearing
33, 36.
33, 34, 36, 37 millimeters. This was monstrous. And the fact that, they were able to stay true to who and what they are, I think is unbelievable. And I mean, I would argue, and I'm probably biased here, that outside of Rolex, Panerai has to be the most recognizable brand in the world. As soon as you see that crown guard, you know what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, you could be 100 feet from somebody and spot that, and I think, with all the celebrities, with all the movie, endorsements and things like that, immediately. You don't need to know the PAM number or the reference, but this guy's wearing a Panerai.
Yeah.
I can't think of any other brand you can really say that from just the profile.
Sure.
So what they were able to achieve there, I think, is unbelievable. The thing, though, that I really wanted to touch on with the Langes is I'm a super sentimental, cheesy guy.
Yeah.
And one thing I think that is absolutely unbelievable, their constant striving for perfection and finishing, is the fact that when you buy a watch from a boutique directly, as long as you're willing to wait for a brand new watch, you can actually personalize and have the balance cock engraved with a number to celebrate an anniversary. It's your 10-year wedding anniversary. You want to put a 10. So I bought the 2 watches that I have when each of my sons have been born as birth watches for them. I love the concept and idea that, when my son was born, I bought this watch in that year. He's going to grow up and watch me wear that, and then when he's ready, whether it's 18 or 30, and he's ready for it, it'll go to him. But each balance cock, which we'll get a better picture, is completely hand engraved with their initials, and you and I have this conversation all the time. This is going to be a controversial statement, but I hate that so many brands have gone to an exhibition caseback to show off a machine finish rotor.
Oh, yeah.
And you lose that ability to personalize, to engrave, or really make the watch special and unique. I love going on eBay and Chrono and finding, a Cartier from 1982 that says, Susan, I'll love you forever, Frank, Christmas, 87. That personal touch, I think, is unbelievable. Sure. And I think
it's like
that
the watch has a soul, right? A previous life.
100%. And you want to know the story. Like, whose was this? You know, wouldn't you love to have your dad's watch that your mom had engraved for him, or your grandpa's that, you know, your grandmother did, or whatever it is. You know, I just think that, you know, as we go to the AD and the boutique format, you know, where in the old days it was jewelry houses that were selling watches. You know, Tiffany sold every brand, Cartier sold every brand, Van Cleef did. And those guys had hand engravers on site, and people wanted to personalize the gift. You know, at that time you weren't buying to flip it or for a quick investment. And I love that art form, you know, and the fact that that's something that Lange accommodates and really becomes part of the watch forever, you know, and with German steel, which the balance cock is, it's gonna patina and kind of change colors. And I just, those are forever watches. And I think, you know, sometimes you buy a watch and you say, I'm gonna wear this for a week and I might, you know, give it away. I might sell it. I might trade up. This is a fad watch. You know, these are forever watches. The meaning that they have, I think, is incredible. And I think that makes them super unique and special.
No doubt about it. I know you brought a couple of Panerai, a couple of IWC also from our boutique that you wanted to discuss a little bit about. What is it about these two Panerai watches? Two completely
different watches.
Completely different in terms of like what their purpose is, right? Why did you select these two?
So I'm being very true to me and my style and my aesthetic. And, you know, when I work with clients, I sell from that personal touch. I want to know what you're looking for. I want a watch that's going to fill your lifestyle. You know, if you're looking for a watch to swim in, I'm not going to be selling you a dress watch. Like, I want to get you the right watch for the right reason. These are watches that speak to me. And I think, you know, to your point, I wanted to show the two spectrums of what, you know, Panerai offers and what we can do. First is a PAM 1086, super clean base logo, very comparable to my watch. I just think it's classic. Manual wind, 12-3, 6-9. The lume on this thing is fantastic. It's going to glow in the dark, you know, after being in the sun. And honestly, even if you're at home in the light and you go into the bathroom and there's no lights, it's going to be completely illuminated. It's just fantastic. I think that this is your true, raw, base logo, everything you need out of Panerai. What I love with Panerai too is you can get a base logo for $5,600. You can get an incredible, you know, Swiss-made, Italian design watch that if you take care of, you can have forever, you know, for under $6,000. You know, a lot of people get intimidated by the numbers of, you know, the Swiss watch industry, but in Panerai, you can still get an incredible value.
Yeah.
You know, at that sub $6,000 range.
You have a recognizable watch that, you know, people instantly know what it is, and it's for a price point that frankly is ultra competitive with even entry-level brands for the quality that you're getting, right? We're talking about, again, a watch that will last even beyond your own lifetime, right? Something you can pass on to future generations.
100%. The second one, complete opposite.
Yeah.
So this is a due. Due just means two in Italian. It's the second version of the Luminor. So the due was invented for people who said, Panerai's too big, it's too bulky, it doesn't fit under the cuff, you can't dress it up, you can't wear it with a dress shirt, you can't wear it with a suit. We have the solution. We introduced the due. What I really love about this due, this is the 1423. I'm Italian and biased to yellow gold. You can't find yellow gold watches outside really of a Rolex President. You know, all the brands kind of switched to rose gold. I mean, there's yellow gold watches here and there, Cartier makes a few, but this is special for Panerai. Exhibition case back, automatic. It has this beautiful sunburst gradient green dial with the yellow gold that I think is just absolutely tremendous.
Sets the watch off completely.
Yeah, small production, you know, a 600-piece mil summation. I love this watch. You know, it's completely different than the 1086, the base logo. But I picked these because I think it just shows the range that Panerai has now. You know, some people only see Panerai as like Carbotech or as base logo. But, you know, we're introducing dress watches. We're introducing perpetual calendars. You know, we've made tourbillons for a while, minute repeaters. Panerai is an unbelievable brand, you know, and I think that, you know, this just kind of shows the range that, you know, you can come here and buy a dress watch. You can come here and buy a watch you can be rough and tough in, you know? So it just, there's something for everyone. You know, if we ask the right questions, we'll get you to what you should be wearing.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I guess juxtaposed to Panerai, you have IWC, which is much more, I would say, you know, kind of for an everyday wear, right? There's a wide range of selection from IWC that fits kind of both the dress and the sports watch mold, and they do both really, really well, right?
100%.
These are, I think, are two great representation of what IWC does amazing.
Yeah, like to your point, I always tell people, IWC is a very day to night. You know, if you're not a collector, you're going to own one watch, you can't go wrong with an IWC.
It's a great beach to office watch. That's what I
100%, yeah. You know, you could wear this with shorts and a t-shirt at a baseball game. You could wear it to your cousin's wedding.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's a kind of one and done watch, you know, and most people aren't collectors.
Sure.
I mean, we have that disease, so we're in a different category. Okay. But, you know, if you just need one watch, IWC is unbelievable. I mean, IWC is a fantastic collector brand too. But what you can get in an IWC, you don't have to go crazy, you know, and buy 25 other watches if you didn't want to.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And the first one you have here is a re-release of an old classic, right? A Genta design watch. Something that when I saw came out, I was like, I wish they stayed faithful to the original. You know, kind of like Vacheron with their Historiques line, right?
Yeah.
They're very, very faithful to the original design. But when I got hands-on with this, I just realized, you know what? It was like a necessary improvement to the original design. It feels very, very modern and with the times.
I agree. So I've gone down the rabbit hole with the Angenoir. Sure. I've actually had every single Angenoir ever made.
No kidding.
Yeah, I had the Jumbo 1832. And the big difference between that watch and this is that bracelet didn't taper.
Yep.
It was big, it was bulky, it was extremely heavy. 34 millimeter Angenoirs. I've had 37 millimeter Angenoirs, 40, 43. I never had a 47, but I've worn 47s. I actually think this is the best one they've made so far. I love it. 100% in-house manufactured caliber, 5-day power reserve. The bracelet's fantastic. You know, the beveled center links, the edges. The only criticism I have is I wish that it had a micro adjust, you know, for heat and cold, you know, so you don't have to pop the link in. It does have a super easy system to change links yourself. I mean, you can always come in the store and we would do it for you. The watch is fantastic.
Yeah.
I love it. I think that the size is truly perfect. Going back to what I said, closed case back so you can engrave it, you know, because you know I like that. There's so much texture in the dial. The dial I just think is great. But I think the big win here is that tapered bracelet.
Sure.
You know, and it's really, I feel like the underdog of those Genta designs.
Absolutely.
You know, in 72, he designs the Royal Oak for Audemars. 1976, 2 watches come out. The Angenoir, the Nautilus.
Yeah.
We kind of know how that story played out.
Yeah.
There were many versions and redesigns of the watch, but I think that this is the most important, substantial release of the Angenoir
Yeah, I think, listen,
since 76.
they went through some weird phases like the AMG Angenoirs.
Right.
Listen, they weren't my thing, you know.
Right.
This kind of plays homage to the AMG.
Yeah.
To a certain extent with the kind of crown guards, but I think it does it in a much more elegant way, right?
I do too.
It's a much more easy to wear watch, and again, a perfect beach everyday watch, or take it dressed up, you know, to your friend's wedding.
Screw down crown, 100 meters. I mean, you can really, like you said, to the beach, you could swim in this watch.
Amazing.
You know, it's a true sports watch. Yep. You know, because for a long time, IWC was at 6 bars. It was nice that they got to 10 bars. The lockdown crown, I mean, there's really nothing you couldn't do in this watch.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
And I guess there's another classic here on the table, which is probably what IWC I would say is most known for. When I think IWC, I think the Portugueser lineup, right?
Absolutely.
And this is a brand new release. They released this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. This was a release from Watches and Wonder this year.
Right, and this stunning, just iridescent, like light blue dial. I don't know what they call this, but it's just absolutely spectacular.
So that's actually why I picked this piece. The color of this dial is called Horizon. It's a boutique exclusive. It only comes in white gold cases. And it's going to be made in all the Portuguesers. So the 40 millimeter automatic, the 7-day automatic, the chronograph, and then the perpetual calendar. So far, we just received this watch yesterday. Anytime we receive it, it's automatically gone. We have an appointment for this watch. I can't imagine it's going to be in stock long.
Yeah.
They're very hard to get. I mean, it's new production, so they're slowly rolling out. This color just speaks to people.
Sure.
They're very drawn to it. You know, it's a color that a man or woman could wear.
Yep.
The 7-day automatic is going to be, you know, a thicker case, a more substantial watch. Mm-hmm. The 40 millimeter automatic and the Portugueser, they look awesome on the ladies too. It's a watch that, this is a big hit for them.
And I'm so glad they came out with the 40 millimeter Portugueser, because I'm one of the biggest fans of this design. It's such a historic, classic, you know, watchmaking.
Absolutely.
You know, it's probably one of the most underrated and I think like underappreciated designs. You talk about top 10 icons in the watch industry. To me, this is one of them, right?
I couldn't agree more.
But the thing is like 42, I couldn't pull off the side. I have a small wrist. You know, I can't.
Yeah.
So like 40 now, boom, I want it.
The 40 is great. The chronograph of 40.9 is fantastic. Just a pinch under 41. For me, going back to what I said, 38 to 41 is bulletproof.
Yep.
Those two watches, you know, this, honestly, even a smaller guy can wear, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
The other two, I think size-wise,
They just
home
hit
run.
the nail on the head. Yep.
Yeah, the perpetual calendar in this color, stunning.
Yeah.
Stunning. The carnet that went around to all the boutiques, we had it here. We took some pictures. It's really beautiful.
I think this and the Obsidian are two of the best dial releases IWC has done in, I would say, in a very, very long time. Let's put it that way.
I agree. The Obsidian, for those who don't know, is the new black dial that was released. It's fantastic. We used to have an Ardois in the chronograph that was a black with a contrasting gray subdial. The new black is insane.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I guess looking forward, right? Obviously being and having worked with both Panerai and IWC, what would you like to see from the brands in the future?
Oh,
Tough one, right?
yeah. I mean, and it's funny because I feel like we all have this wish list, right? And
Sure.
when you get asked, no one knows the answer.
40
it's always
millimeter
like,
carbon Panerai, I would love it.
right?
Yeah.
Even two people always say, all right, you can have any watch in the world. What is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't even answer that
Yeah,
on the cuff.
it's impossible.
You know, what I like is I'd love to see a yellow gold Angenoir. I'd like to see a two-tone Angenoir.
Okay.
I'd like to start playing with the metals. You know, we've done it in the yacht club in rose gold. You know, kind of how I said, you know, I have an affinity to yellow gold. I love this Panerai. I think it would be awesome to see a yellow gold IWC. I've been with the company for just under 6 years, and I can't think of any.
Yeah, no. I mean, either. It's always
I mean,
rose.
you're going back.
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
always rose.
always rose. I just think that would be unbelievable because the original Angenoir was made in all steel, in yellow gold, and two-tone.
Yep.
I just think that would be awesome. I'd also like to see an Angenoir for the ladies. I'd like to see, I don't know the size,
Maybe a
somewhere
34,
between 34 to 37 maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know, but I think that this would be an awesome wash for a
Yeah,
girl.
they have what I call is like a great blank canvas. You know, they have a
Right.
great canvas that essentially they can play around with, you know, a variety of dials, metals, complications, all that kind of good stuff. But yeah, no, that would be amazing to see. Rich, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. We got to do this again sometime.
Absolutely, it's fantastic.
Guys, if you enjoyed this and if you have any questions for Rich, please be sure to leave them down in the comments below. I'm sure Rich will be happy to answer any questions you may have. Of course, please be sure to leave your feedback on the video below. Always appreciate your support. And of course, if you have any topics you'd like for us to address on the Verdi's Jewelry YouTube channel, please do let me know. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe for more videos in the future. Rich, thanks so much again.
Thanks, brother.
We'll see you guys in the next one.
Thank you.